Talk about low-budget flights, no food or movies? I'm out of here. I like running better. Welcome back, YouTube viewers, to another video. So, I love Lego Monkey Kid. I only ever covered this show once, which was back in July when Season 5 wrapped up, and if you have seen the show and you want to know my thoughts on Season 5, you can watch that review. I'm rewatching the season currently right now, and I'd say that video still hold my views on Season 5 still hold what that video said. So, now, before I actually dive into this, I want to say that I know a lot of my viewers probably have never seen this show before, so I just want to say that you should totally check it out. It's also really short, so I'll link it in the description. Watch it on the Internet Archive where you can download it without having to sign up for anything or get any viruses. And YouTube, because, that's easier, I guess. But for people who have seen it, well, I think we can all agree that Season 4 is easily the best season of Monkey Kid. Season 1 is pretty good. Season 2 is... I have a lot of nostalgia for Season 2, even though it's only, 4 years old? Yeah. Season 3 is pretty great. Season 5 is really good, but oh boy, Season 4 of Monkey Kid is on another level. So I just want to talk about the characters. I think that's each character that I think is worth talking about this season, the general themes it dove into, and what makes this season just so special. So, without further ado, let's begin. So, of course, you have to talk about MK, the main character, and boy, I was not prepared for MK's arc this season when I first watched it back in 2023. So, I really enjoyed MK's character in the first 3 seasons, and I do think his arc was pretty good there. So, Season 1 was pretty simple, just him figuring out his powers and all that, learning not be just distracted by things and stuff like that. But then you got the macaque episode in Season 1, where we were able to get a little more insight into a little more interesting character work. And then Season 2 really stepped up the game, where got into new character arc, thinking about how, what if Monkey King chose wrong? What if he picked the wrong successor? And it starts to go into his mind, thinking, maybe he's right. Maybe he doesn't want me as a student. He picked wrong. And then he gets traumatized by the Lady Bone Demon. Yikes. And then, he gets super freaked out, not wanting to spend time with his friends. We get the next macaque episode, Shadow Play, which is great. One of the show's best episodes. Season 3 is about how he has to learn to tap into his powers without Monkey King's staff. And they're able to finalize the first 3 seasons' theme of friendship. But that may have been a bit long of an explanation, but, it's necessary, because Season 4, oh boy. So, once they defeated the Lady Bone Demon, they didn't just blow her up or whatever. She had one final talk with MK, where she was telling him that, you and I are not so different. We both fight for what we believe in. And he says, I'm nothing like you. And she says, well, we do have one thing in common. Everything we do leads to pain. And this season, it starts to get to MK's head. What if everything he does lead to pain? He may have saved the city and the world, but I mean, he let the Demon Bull King get his staff, which gave him the power to destroy the city. His hair, for some reason, gave Spider Queen the power to destroy the city, which led to the Lady Bone Demon destroying the city and nearly destroying the entire world. And I guess the universe in its entirety, I guess. And Wukong tells him, don't worry, we may not be able to change our mistakes, but as long as we leave the world a little better than we found it, you'll be A-okay. But then, there's the whole stuff with the scrolls and the ink demons, and Wukong just says, looks like the ghosts of my past are up to get me. And then Kay has to go on this arc, and he thinks it's just going to be a fun, short little journey. But that's what he wants it to be. But deep down, he knows this season is not just going to be some short little fun adventure. It is going to be deep, and it is going to get into his head. He meets the great Saboti, Wukong's teacher, who asks him, do you remember anything about your childhood? Who are your parents? He was raised by Pigsy, but he doesn't remember his parents really or where he came from. He starts having visions of Monkey King's rock for some reason. And he just starts freaking him out. He starts getting really paranoid about what is he? He starts turning some kind of weird monkey demon thing, but he keeps pushing it back. And then it pulls ahead in episode 7, Pitiful Creatures, where an ink demon version of MK comes out of the scroll of memory and basically just traumatizes him. Gosh, MK sure gets traumatized a lot in this show, doesn't he? But this is where it takes us to a whole nother level. It's one thing to see an evil demon tell you that everything you do leads to pain. It's another thing for yourself, basically, to tell you you're a harbinger of chaos. Yes, we let the Demon Bull King destroy the city. We let the Spider Queen destroy the city. We gave the Lady Bone Demon the power to wreak havoc on the world. Everything we do leads to chaos. And this just really messes up MK. He starts trying to push back his monkey demon form and all that. And it really messes with him. He tries to push away his past and all that. I will talk more about MK, but I'm going to save that for the end of the video. Because next I have to talk about Azure Lion, the season's main villain, who is, by the way, voiced by Christopher Sabat, who is also Vegeta and Piccolo and Yamcha on Dragon Ball. And the fact that Sun Wukong, the Monkey King, is voiced by Goku, Sean Schemmel, that is totally intentional. They brought in Chris Sabat to be Azure Lion, but Azure Lion is a great villain. There's a really good video from the channel Bendo Bricks about Azure, which I'd recommend you check out, but my take on him is this. To summarize, the lesson we can learn from Azure Lion's villainy is that the path to hell is paved with good intentions. Azure was once part of this brotherhood he formed with Wukong and Macaque and the Demon Bull King and these two new other guys, Yellow Tusk Elephant and Pang, this Birdman. And they all plotted to overthrow the Jade Emperor to end his tyrannical rule while he sits in his lavish palace and gets all this love or whatever and fortune. The people of the world are starving. And then, of course, their plot to take the Jade Emperor's throne fails, and he is imprisoned in the underworld. Until the beginning of this season, he is freed, and he takes possession of the Scroll of Memory. He's able to free Yellow Tusk and Pang as they plot to once again overthrow the Jade Emperor and save the world from oppression, which, gosh, Azure Lion just reeks of a communist dictator. I don't know. It fits perfectly. That can't be a coincidence. A guy who says, I am going to save the world from evil oppression. Well, he does this, he does not realize that as soon as he takes over, things get worse. Like that's what happens. He's able to he traps Wukong in the Scroll of Memory. He finally is able to destroy the Jade Emperor, and he's able to take his power and rule the universe where he's going to save it. But of course, since he doesn't know how to handle the power of the Jade Emperor, the universe itself literally starts tearing apart. And when Yellow Tusk questions him, he just says, "Who are you to question me, huh?" But I also like how he's not just an evil, angry guy. Like, at first, he does genuinely seem like he's trying to help MK and May, which, sure, he's doing it for his own ambition, but he doesn't seem like that mean a guy. As Macaque says, though, Azure's always good at convincing people he's the good guy. He built this big, lavish, nice palace, but he had to create a huge wasteland to get it built. You know. Or, he says he wasn't just trying to trap Wukong in the Scroll of Memory forever, as he tells to MK. He said he was going to trap him in it for a while, then he'd free him and try to talk him out of his loyalty to the Celestial Realm, which the Celestial Realm really hates Wukong, so seeing him as such a loyalist is just really funny, but yeah, Azure's really well performed, too. Like, the voice acting by Chris Sabat is on another level. I think this might actually be his best performance, although it's kind of hard to top Vegeta. But now I've talked about the other members of the Brotherhood, Yellow Tusk and Pang. So, there isn't a ton to say about these guys, but I think they're definitely interesting, at least Yellow Tusk is, really. To quickly summarize Pang, he's fine, I guess. Like, he has a cool design, but he didn't really do much. He just filled out the space that was necessary, which, that's fine, again. Cool design, good vocal performance. I like how back in the flashback scene when the Brotherhood was first formed, Pang calls Macaque the most cowardly of the bunch. But then in the finale, when Pang flies away to save his own skin, Macaque says to May, "Oh, let him go. You always were the most cowardly of the bunch." That's a really good exchange, but Yellow Tusk is actually really interesting, I'd say. Because unlike Azure and Pang, who are completely devoted to this mission, he is, but he has a lot more common sense than they do. And here's the thing: while Pang may be devoted to his mission with Azure, as soon as he's in danger, he jets in the finale. Yellow Tusk is Wukong says, "I think we can actually reason with Yellow Tusk," and they do. But it comes from a scene earlier. I mentioned before that the Brotherhood actually questions Azure's taking over the Jade Emperor's power. It's Yellow Tusk who does it, not just Yellow Tusk and Pang. He tells Azure, "We were right to overthrow the Jade Emperor, but perhaps we were too hasty in this. We should have planned this out better instead of just doing it immediately without any real plan. They just did it and expected things to work out perfectly." And of course, they don't. I mean, the universe starts tearing itself apart. And then when he in the finale, when Azure dies, he says to our heroes, "I will not condemn Azure's actions to save the world. But I realize that he was wrong in some of the decisions he made. I now know what true heroes look like." I thought that was a really good character arc for him. He doesn't even have that much screen time, but he's genuinely really interesting. I hope he shows back up in season 6. That'd be cool. I don't know. Wukong and Wukong is probably the best character in the entire show. I don't think that's too unpopular of an opinion. Macaque is pretty great too. Macaque was always an interesting character to me because he's able to do the whole redeemed villain thing actually quite well. Because at first in seasons 1 and 2, he is just evil. He wants to destroy Monkey King for whatever reason. And season 2, we do actually have some hint of what their past was in the shadow play he puts on. And it's a really great flashback. He never specifically says who he's talking about, he just talks about the hero and the warrior. They were like the sun and the moon. And they went from being best friends, no one can get in their way, until the hero's power grew. And as his power grew, so too did his shadow. And soon the warrior was cast in that shadow. But that's all we really get. In season 3, we see that he's still alive, and he's being forced by the Lady Bone Demon to chase after our heroes, collect the 3 rings of the Samadhi Fire, or else she is going to kill him. And by the end, he works together with our heroes to stop the Lady Bone Demon. In season 4, and I guess season 5, he's really more of a guy who's just along for the ride. Maybe he's not the nicest guy ever, and while he's still not brothers in arms, I guess, with Wukong like he was in their past, he does seem to actually be on good terms with him. Excuse me, blow my nose. And it's some good character development. It's steady and slow and steady. After all, slow and steady wins the race. Haha. But Wukong is really interesting this season. So yeah, he tells MK in the beginning, "Don't worry, bud. We may not be able to change the mistakes we've made, but we can just try to leave the world a little better than we found it, right?" And there's an episode, there's the episode "A Lifetime of Mistakes," where MK and Macaque travel through the scroll of memory to try to fetch Wukong, and MK is able to see a majority of big events in Wukong's life. He is a hero, I guess. MK still looks up to him, but he sees all the mistakes Wukong has made throughout his life until he eventually has a talk face to face with Wukong about it, and Macaque's there too. We get to see their falling out. And Wukong is able to come to the realization that, yeah, he did make a lot of mistakes. He has hurt a lot of people. But, as we see next, that gives these people like Azure Lion no excuse to do the kinds of things they do. And he's able to take this whole journey of self-reflection and try and become a better person. That's some pretty good stuff. Yeah, I said that Azure Lion might be my favorite of Christopher Sabat's performances, but yeah, Wukong is my favorite performance of Sean Schemmel. I like it more than Goku. Sure, I'm always gonna like Goku, but Wukong is a more interesting character, and I just think the performance is really good, so I gotta give it to him. Okay, a bit of a rambling for those past few sections, but time to talk about the companions. So, Pigsy, Tang, Sandy, and May. I think this is all their best showing in the whole show, really. Well, I think Sandy was best in season 5 when he got his episode with MK, but whatever. Well, maybe I'll talk about that in some other video. I might have talked about it in my season 5 review, but if I did, I don't remember talking about it. It was almost a year ago. But so yeah, I like May this season. How she gets to reconnect with her ancestor. In fact, that's a whole theme throughout this season, reconnecting with the past and seeing what you can learn from it. Because while she gets to meet her ancestor, Pigsy, Tang, and Sandy, we see their past lives. Because all these guys are all of our main heroes of the show are either the ancestor or the reincarnations of the companions from the Journey to the West, with MK taking the place of Monkey King. So, yeah, May is a descendant of the White Horse Dragon, which is something we already know. It's been established in Season 1. And so she gets to meet her original ancestor that went on the journey with Wukong, and she's able to learn a thing or two from him about not being so impulsive. Pigsy, must come face to face with Sandy's past life, because Sandy is this nice, gentle guy. He's willing to fight for his friends, but he's still a pretty peaceful dude. But then Pigsy has to face Sandy's monstrous ancestor, who is sitting in this pile of skulls, and he's telling Pigsy, I know you used to be a monster in your past life, so come on, show me the monster! Which is the name of the episode. And like, boy, that was a pretty intense scene, I'd say, first time I watched it. Again, I like that the show just gets to push risks and the kinds of themes it tackles. Stuff like that is interesting, or how Pigsy's past life, maybe there's not as much to gain from it as there is for the other characters, but he used to just be this greedy jerk chef pig demon guy who was really gruff and rude and didn't really like other people until he learned to open up to them. Tang, we get to see his ancestor, who is this great monk who thought that all earthly connections were pointless, but he's able to learn from MK and May that friendship is important. You can't just say, oh, I will never connect to the world because that's just pointless. It's some good character development for him, which Tang doesn't really get to see this, but all of these characters learn a lesson from their past lives when they get taught by Saboti toward the end of the season, where he's able to tell them that, look, May, you are really impulsive, okay? Tang, you don't really know how to fight or use your powers. Every time you've tapped into your mystical powers, it was by luck. Pigsy, you may try your best, but you're way too stubborn. And because he says to all of them, all these past 3 seasons, you won out of dumb luck, which is sort of true. You need to learn how to actually do things this time. And by the end, they're able to learn how to actually do things, use their powers effectively, fight alongside MK, they get some nice character development, all of that. Then there's the 4-part season finale, The Emperor's Wrath, which I just want to say that when it comes to these season 3 and 4's 4-part finales, I prefer to watch them as 4 episodes, not as a 45-minute special, but that's just me. So yeah, this is an awesome season finale. This might actually be one of the best season finales to any TV show I've ever seen. It is just phenomenal. I already talked about certain parts of it, like the Lifetime of Mistakes episode, where Wukong is able to reflect on his past mistakes. Macaque telling MK how, yeah, look at Azure, he may have this big palace, but he just caused an entire wasteland to get it. And something I did not mention is that Macaque told MK in that episode, everyone thinks they're the hero of their own story. Because that really ties into Azure's character here. So that all of our heroes have to stop the Brotherhood and Azure Lion from destroying the universe, I guess, because, yeah, Azure is not able to contain the power of the Jade Emperor. The sky is splitting. And MK and Wukong have to fight against him. And MK is thinking, well, if we work together, I bet we can defeat the Jade Emperor. Or Azure, and I don't need to use my creepy mystical monkey powers. And Wukong's telling him, kid, you have to use your powers. You can't just say, I'll do it when the time is right. This is the time. The universe is tearing itself apart. You may be afraid of your inner monkey form, but you gotta use it, kid. Which, by the way, I already mentioned the video before about Azure Lion from Bendo Bricks. They also did a great video covering the Emperor's Wrath, which I also recommend you check out. But, yeah, so, one, the battle between MK, Azure, and Monkey King is just amazing. Rewatching Season 5, The animation isn't so bad until you see it right after watching season 4. Because the whole first 4 seasons, especially season 4, look incredible. The lighting, the choreography, the visuals, the colors, it's amazing. But the real heart of Monkey Kid is not the visuals, it's the writing. Because this epic battle to decide the fate of the universe goes on. Azure can no longer contain the Jade Emperor's power. The universe is tearing itself apart. The world is going to come to an end. Unless Azure sacrifices himself to contain the power, I guess. And throughout this whole time, you get this one great exchange, where Azure says, I didn't want to destroy the world. I just wanted to make the world a better place. And MK says, yeah, and only you can. He needs to sacrifice himself to save the world from apocalypse. And Azure does. And don't get me wrong, he's not redeemed or anything. He's an awful guy, but yeah, he gives up his life to save the universe. And the season ends with all our characters having a nice party at the beach, barbecue, talking together, being happy. As MK tells Wukong what he told him in the beginning of the season. You know, you're right. We can't change the mistakes of our past, but we can at least try to make the world a little better than we found it. Peak writing right there. And wow, this video has gone for longer than I thought it would, but there's just a lot to say here about the Emperor's Wrath, especially. And of course, the season ends with its creepy, ominous cliffhanger, where we see the hooded guys who released Azure in the beginning, come back, and they say, because Wukong tells Azure and the Emperor in the last episode, wait, how are you here? I trapped you, in this underworld. Who released you? How'd you get here? And Azure says, I don't know. And yeah, we see these hooded guys talking about how, yes, to them amongst themselves saying that yes, we did release Azure from the line from the scroll of memory, or whatever, and you need to make sure that no one finds out we were all involved with this. Which can I just say about season 5 really quickly, which is that in the end of season 4 here, they act like they all had a part to play in releasing Azure Lion, but in season 5, they act like only one of these guys played a part in it. Who I just want to say that having rewatched season 4 just recently, I'm really getting a lot more appreciation for season 5's villain. But if you want to hear me talk about him, watch my review of season 5. I'll just say here that I really like the foreshadowing for that guy's plan, because it says here that in season 4, Azure Lion wasn't just released to overthrow the Jade Emperor or get revenge on Wukong or whatever. He was released because the people who did it knew if he would overthrow the Jade Emperor, and that if he did, the universe would probably destroy itself. Meaning these guys wanted to destroy the universe. Why would anyone want to destroy the world? Well, you can watch season 5 if you want to find out why. In conclusion, season 4 Monkey Kid is just great. Like, I said this before and I'll say it again. One thing I really appreciate about Monkey Kid is just the kinds of themes it tackles. I still like Ninjago more. I always have, always will. That show left a profound impact on me, and I think it's genuinely great. Do I think there are seasons of Ninjago that are better than season 4 of Monkey Kid? Yes, I do. And while I'm fine with it, Ninjago never tapped into the kind of complex themes that Monkey Kid does here. We're tapping into themes of learning from our ancestors, the mistakes of our past, reflecting on our future, our present, destiny, choosing our own path. You need to be here now. All these crazy action scenes about are the main characters questioning, are we actually heroes or am I a harbinger of chaos? Like, they get into some really deep stuff here, but I appreciate that it's never pretentious. It could very easily come off as, how do we make our show seem mature? I know. We're going to have the main character question if he really is a hero or if everything he does leads to pain. Ooh, isn't that edgy? And yes, it does cover that idea, but it doesn't do so in that kind of, ooh, look at us way. It does so in just a way of, how can we take this and make it and have it teach a lesson, but still make it entertaining and not just the dour, I think would be a good word for it. So yeah, if you haven't seen this season in a while, I'd highly recommend watching it again. I mean, season 6 will probably release in a few months, so probably got to get back to season 5 as well. That's all for now. And remember to stay way past cool.